All right, starting in. This is number 6. Um, so where we left off is trying to reimagine this routing thing is less like this, more like this, where modules, app owns modules, modules owns standards, and then that's where the thing comes in. So kind of like a double nested routing situation. So I'm going to start by going into the router and kind of seeing what we have now. So we have this modules component that has children, and I think that what we want is a standards view also. So if we do touch, okay, and then this one is still going to be the same where you're choosing a module. This one's going to render a module, but the gotcha is that it's going to have children including that. And I think otherwise we kind of want to do it the same way where we have like, so that one's choose a module, this one's choose a standard. Still don't like that name, but I think we'll come back to something better. And then that one's not going to have a name anymore. Perfect. Actually, we can call this one module. And path for this one is going to be module ID. Path for this one is going to be module ID. Let's see, now it'll be nothing. And then this one will be standards, standard ID. Cool, I think that works. So we should have some errors that'll help us remember which components we need to break. Choose the standards not defined. Source views. Choose a standard dot view. So we can make choose a standards not defined. So let's bring it in. All right, already back in business. So now we need to, so look at this diagram. That modules thing, app renders modules, that's just so the stuff that we have in app header. I think we're going to have to split some of that out. So like this. App header can still be in there, although now I'm inclined to kind of move that back out into app. But we want that to have a router view now. Yeah. And then So modules will have that and render a router view inside of it. And then standards are going to do the same thing, except we're going to rip out this. And likewise, put a router view inside of it. And let's wrap that. All right, and then with those things out of the app header, now this app header itself, it's not taking those two anymore. This nav kind of needs to come out. Right now I'm going to put that in modules. Cool, hit it. I'm going to move app header over to app. Which means that I need to take out the import and put that in app. Cool. And that doesn't take those anymore. Cool. So let's see what's broken. So in our views modules, I need to grab some of these. Okay, awesome. So it's asking us to choose a module. That's exactly what we want to happen. So choose a module is the default for that, and then once it has a module ID, so I'm going to say, in this modules component, good, good. Now I should have, let's see, trying to get the links to each of those to go, let's see, want them to link to module, which is good, but that needs module ID, like that. Does that work? Yes, it does. Cool. So when we link to those should be taking us to the choose a standard component. And in this, I want to get the standards that are showing up there. So I think, where's that standards component? Maybe that's what choose a standard is. And that becomes standards, which means this goes to standards. A route with the name modules. Okay. And then over in standards, now I need that script and a style. And take a look at what I did in modules. All right, and this should have access to a this dot route params, if I'm getting to it. Okay, so let's say this is modules, module ID. Better. So if I go to that, now I'm in modules 6, which defaults to standards. So it should be in this standards component. I imagine I have to use this at some point. And what component hierarchy is rendering right now? Module. I see. Module is really where I go over here. I don't want that one there. I probably want something more like this over here. Okay, and that has the module ID. And so if instead of hard coding that, this dot route dot params dot, actually shit, I'm gonna make that this dot route dot params dot module ID. I'll just call it ID. Now, since I'm dealing with standards too, I should also, I guess, qualify that. Okay, good. So I have those now. This doesn't need to be hard-coded anymore. Well, does it? Yes. Yeah, it does. And exact same thing. Actually, since I'm going to be doing that both times, it sort of makes sense to make a computed property also. Term this dot route dot params dot module ID. that. Cool, awesome. So the mods are there. We've got 2 mods. And I think this needs a router view. There we go. Now we're in business. So those standards, I really want those to go more in here. Cool. And not in here. So that description, I want that to be in the index for this, which I think maybe actually is that. Choose a standard. I'll bet that is that one. Cool, so it's down there. It would for that's a view, so I want to get the module for that one, so I can have that module description kind of be that one. Like this. And then whatever I was doing over with the module description. I'm gonna yank those out and put them here. No. Here. Okay, so those are there, but when I go to one of these, those links aren't working. Okay, so that ends up being the default for that. And over here, I want these links. See, those are for modules. These are the standards. Do they link now? Yes. So the URLs on these are right, which is good. So what's actually rendering there? The standard component. Which should take in standard ID and do it that way. Cool. And that's it. And we can go over here, we see mod 2. Go over here, we see mod 1. And go here, we see all of those. All right, neat. So now the routing hierarchy is working correctly. We need to fix the visual hierarchy and maybe clean up some cruft. But this is basically what we're looking at. So I'm going to do a little bit of refactoring. Let's say standard ID. Good. Good. Still don't like this name, but I think we'll get a better one at some point in this video, or in this feature. Okay, that's fine for right now. This one is modules. This does update with the route now. Do I use modules in here? I do. Do I use standards in here? I don't. Let's get rid of that. All this styling, we're going to have to do something with this. Okay, so I'm calling that modules. Okay, so modules is there, but I also have standards, which is in here. I'm going to call this module. And I'm going to wrap this in a nav. Yeah. Module nav standards, perfect. And anything else kind of hinky in here? That. Should probably be more like that. Good, good. Okay. This standards view, is that anything? No, it is not. So let's get rid of it. RM source views. Okay, and then over in the router, we're going to have to not import it anymore. Okay. And then I'm going to make a note that these get rid of choose a naming. That's going to have to get fixed, but I'm having a hard time imagining what they're supposed to be. So I'm hoping that just becomes more evident. All right, let's get rid of some errors. So this is in module. I need my typography one. ID is not defined in standard. The standard ID, cool. Nice. Right, all that's still working. What else looks bad? That's better. This is pretty good. Okay. I'll take it. All right. So now we want to make it actually look more like this does. So we'll say, let's take a look at how it looks right now. All right, first thing that's happened is our app is flexing. It shouldn't anymore. We do want it to do all this other stuff though. Yeah. So let's go over to modules. Maybe flex that. This only has one child. That's not the one. Oh, here's why. Probably that. Okay. Probably still not what we actually wanted to do though. But that's not flexing anymore. That header is correct. Under that should be the modules. Let's take a look at this. So right now this is flexing these two children, which I actually don't think I want to do. I want those one on top of the other. Okay, that's more right. And then inside module, that's the thing I want to flex. Yeah. So module, if I flex that instead, hey, now we're back in business. We have something that looks a lot more like our app and keeps this hierarchy that we've been working on. Cool. So we lost a little bit of goodness somewhere in here though. I think first thing is that this needs some left padding. Nope. What's the thing that it renders? Maybe whatever the div is directly, whatever div is directly under it. And we're going to need the scales. Is that what I called it? Styles. Oh, I called them scales. I see. Okay, there we go. Starting to get some breathing room there. See how it looks. Like that. All right, next thing I want to figure out is why is there so much space up here, okay? This main doesn't need all that padding now. there is, maybe the whole app needs that now, though. No. See, so that's top to bottom. I want more left to right. Oop, did I get those backwards? Apparently. Something I don't like about that either, but we'll get to it. So, neat. Good, good, good. All right, sick. So, next thing, let me go back to the requirements. See a list of modules and clicking on a module should navigate to it. Cool, that works. So that means we're just in cleanup for this. Feel like this needs more. Okay. So what I'm thinking now is those standards links. Oh, hang on, interesting. Those are showing every standard for 1, and for 2, those I don't know if I want to use that default link style. So let's see. What's that called? Is it this one? I think it might be this one. Yeah. So for standards, li, anchors, maybe keep the decoration and inherit the color. That's better. I might not even need the decoration on that, but I'm going to keep it for right now. All right, and then why are they all showing up? Get module by ID standards. So let's take a look in the store. Get module by ID. Okay. So I'm finding a particular module. So now the question is, are those coming back with all of them attached to begin with? So that's a back-end problem. So if I look at this module and its standards, yeah, that's a back-end problem. Okay, not a problem. So we're getting the standards, mod standards. Oh, there you go, that'll do it. Stupid assignment. All right. Now, there we go. Now it's changing. Why is it moving though, too? That's weird. Oh, I think it was that same like fixed size flex issue. If I look at the, yeah, that's definitely not. Yeah, so I'm setting a width there on the nav for module. But the thing I actually need to set it on is not that one. There we go. That's more what we're looking for. Okay. Next thing I'm thinking when I see this, first of all, we need an active indicator. We need an active indicator for those buttons, and I don't think that simple Flatiron logo actually works that well with this anymore. Yeah, I think I want something more like that. Okay, and then over here, hop into assets. Oop, Yogo. Yowza. So I'm gonna remove the small one. Then over in app header, okay, and now I don't want to constrain it in the same way that I was before either. I did this by height instead. Okay, one thing to note, this is getting better. They put all that padding in there, and so we kind of need a negative margin to offset that. Okay, that's a lot better. And I think I'm also going to offset it that way too. Yeah, this is starting to come together a little bit. All right, next thing I want. Let's approach that active state thing a little bit. So this is going to be on the list item. And this is probably a method is active module, maybe, that takes in module and maybe returns module.id is this module ID. And that's gonna be this dot route dot params dot module ID. So then we want to say class. There's a way to do view class, like Turner is one way to do it. Yeah, this is class and style bindings. Yeah, this is what we want. We want the class active to be applied if is active is true. And we need to invoke that. Since this is getting pretty long, let's split it up into some lines. Good. Now I want to see module.id and this dot module ID. All right, what's happening here? Raw expression. Oh, I think I need maybe use this. Unexpected token. Ah, it takes an object. That's right. Too much Ruby, man. Is active is not a function. It need to be this. Undefined. I don't like that at all. Is active. Did I just name it something? Nope, that's why. Cool, there we go. And those appear to be... Oh, neat. Never mind. Vue gives you this for free with RetterLink active, which it won't have on this. Oh, shoot. I don't know if that actually helps me that much, though, because I want it on the LI. That's all right. So if this is an LI that has the active class In that case, the background color becomes maybe darker. And I'll do something like that. I think if there's 5 modules there, that probably works okay. All right, and then if I go over here, cool, that works. All right, back over here. Has an active indicator, the choose a naming thing. Our hierarchy is in pretty good shape. Okay. Let's see what's going on with our back end. Okay, that needs to get fixed. This is getting kind of gross. Refactor the back end. So first thing I'm thinking on the back end is let's make a file called data. Oops. And let's move these into that. And then make get modules and get module exposed from that. Module.exports. Okay, that should all still work. I wonder if instead of searching by ID, what if we searched by sort order instead? So then our module test.
I can watch it. Oh man, Tyler pulled a crystal.
Yeah?
Oh my god. Like 40 nested ternaries.
Whoa!
Ridiculous. Run into some issues because things weren't updated. I'm like, ah, man.
Yowza.
It was deep for that first game.
All right, so if I ask for modules 1, I go off of sort order instead. Oh, you know what? I never added that sort order column. So I'm going to do that now. Connects, migrate, make, add sort order to modules. Cool, so connects.schema. So I don't want to create table. I want to alter the table. Alter next.schema.table. So that just gives us a callback for it. So we can say I want the module table. And add column, drop column. There's drop column. Drop column, rename column, As upset buddy. Oh, you just do it the exact same way that we did when we were making the schema in the first place. So we say like table, this is an integer sort order. And then turn connects.schema table module table.drop column sort order. Cool. So we can do that. Now we need to update our seeds also so that our mods also have sort orders. Cool. So now if I go over here, connects migrate latest, and connects seed run, cool. What I should get should run this test. Oh, that was the other thing. Show sort order on client. Okay, those guys still work. Those tests are passing. And over on the client, do mod this. I want module dot sort order to be the thing that shows up. Now those are mods 1 and 2. Very nice. So yeah, it's kind of coming together bit by bit. that scheme, that migration looks good. This data, this is probably about as good as it's going to get for right now. I think I want to take a different approach to this down the road. But if these are the only two methods that ever get written for this, that's fine. And those tests are passing. It can retrieve a single module. It can retrieve a list of modules, which are the two things it needs to do. Same thing with these controllers. I'll probably bust these out into separate files at some point, but not today.
Oh, you already started doing that.
Yep, absolutely.
Was that yesterday?
That was the first day.
The first day you were doing it all from the front end.
Started there, work your way back every time. Cool. So
So that they didn't see it. How did you make your test dynamic as well, or they still just check for it?
no, it's a little more brittle than it's not brittle. It's just not as informative as it might be otherwise. So, for example, this is asking if I make a request to modules, do I get back any? So, or this one, the thing I just changed is this doesn't actually get module ID 1, this gets module sort order 1. And so if that ID updates, it's still getting back whatever the current one is. And then it's just checking for the existence of those properties. It's not actually like verifying it against a fixture or anything, which actually makes this significantly less brittle with the trade-off of like slightly less confidence, which is a thing you're like constantly fucking doing with tests. And then another one on this side. Let me get rid of this fake server. Same thing here. Does this have more than 0 standards showing? And now it's about time to see if that passes also. I'll bet I have four passing tests now. Oop, broke the old test. It's probably because I redid the navigation. But listing the modules, one of them worked. All right, cool. So let's get these working again. So nav standards li. All right, so we need to do more work than we used to for that. So now we need to navigate to a standard. And this is kind of a neat thing that not a lot of people realize you can do in Cypress, but you can, whatever pattern you use to do that, like navigate to a standard, you can just put in a function and then call it. So if we're on the site, the way that we would navigate to a standard is we'd choose a module. So maybe we say something like sci.get modules, and then the A contains 8, and then click on it. Contains is the word, right? Cypress contains. Yep, get the DOM element containing the text. So we'll say I want mod 1, I want to click on it, and then I want to go to standards, A, and then we can do that one off of whatever this text is. And click on that, and then we should have a standard showing. So like, call this one navigate to a standard. And then really, you can break that up into two. It's like navigate to a module. And then this one is navigate to a module, navigate to a standard, and then we just do the assertion. So something like that. And then this one was fine. Yep, modules show up. And then navigates to a module standard when one is clicked. And so really that one is navigate to a standard. So as long as you can do that, then you're probably in good shape. Let's see if it works. Pass, 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 pass. 4 passing tests. That's it. And really, since we're already navigating to a standard, you can refactor your tests too. You don't need to keep them around just so you can say you have a lot of tests. And really, now that you have to list standards by going through the modules, we really don't even need this entire block. Okay, so I've got passing tests. My back end is acceptable. And cool, done, done, done. The choose a naming. So this is the last thing that I just do not like in this app, is choose a module, choose a standard. So is there a different name for what those are? Choose. So what if I called that the module, and then this the standards? No, this would be I think I'm maybe just going to call this module index and standards standard index. Yeah, I like that. I'll roll with that. Standards index, modules index. Okay, app still work? App still works. Okay, click here, click here. All right, sweet. So now I just need to fix these. This is modules index. This is standards index. Then over here, cool, working again, and that doesn't exist. And I think what I want is modules index. It says choose a module right now. That's not what I want. What I want is, well, see, choose a module sort of makes sense. And the standard index, yeah, I want the description of that. Choose a module. I can do better than that, though. What about No, right now it's nothing. You know what it should do? This doesn't even need to exist. That should redirect to the first module. So view router redirect. Yeah, that's it. So modules index, I really want it to redirect, takes in an object, to the one, I think I need to give it params, name, standards, params, module ID 1 instead of that. Cool, so now, broke something. Standards is not defined. Oop. Cool. So now if I go there, that's good. It redirects me correctly. I don't know why it's not showing the shit though. So that's supposed to be. Oh, it's still, yeah, it's still doing it by ID somewhere. Otherwise, it's the right idea though. No, it's probably in the store. Okay. Yep, here it is. Get module sort order equals ID. There we go. So yeah, now when I go directly to the site, it takes me to the standards for mod 1. Much better. Yeah, and yeah, so it defaults there instead of like pick up mod. There's no use in that page, and so just, yeah, now I can get rid of that, and we can simplify the test too. So I'm gonna rm choose modules index. Yeah. Cool. Oops, saw a console log somewhere. Don't want that. Grep recursive console.log in modules. There we go. Okay, that's getting better. Oh, interesting though. When I did that, it didn't indicate that it was an active route. So that's happening in, see, it's redirecting here, so that should be the module component. Nope, the parent of that. Modules. Okay. What's happening here? Okay. Oop. there too. Perfect, much better. All right, so if I hit root of the page, takes me right there. Sweet. Those links in there are still going to sort order. Cool, much better. All right, sick. All right, back to the requirements. Sort order, refer factor back in active indicator, choose a naming, route hierarchy. Awesome, that's pretty good. So in our definition of done, it is styled. I'll deploy it in a sec. Tests are passing. Let's take a look at tests, E to E. So navigating to a module doesn't really happen anymore. These still pass. Nope. Something failed. Navigate to a module is not defined. Cool. Passing tests. Error handling. There's no logic in here that I think can break. And then update the README. Okay, are these any different than they were before? No. Cool, README's updated. That seems pretty done to me. So look through what I've made here. I call this get add all. And this is list standards for all mods. And I did some intermediary commits. I'm going to roll the last 4, 5, 6 into 1. So get rebase interactive last 6. Need to actually do my. How'd that not do the commit? What am I missing? Oop, it's only there. There we go. Git add all. Git commit blah. Okay, now I'm gonna rebase the last 7. Cool. And I'm gonna say, yeah, dude. Yeah.
So what does that look like when you get it? Is it just one?
I'm rewriting history, so I'm going to squash all these into one. So this blah commit, that's the one that I actually want. And so this is going to be a reword. And I'm going to take all of that. And then all of these are going to be fix-ups. And cannot fix up without a previous commit. All right, try it again. Get rebase Bert. Okay. So I'm going to start this time by doing the reword. God, why is it? Why won't it let me do that? Oh, I see why. It won't let me do it in place on there. And I already squashed one. Got it. So I'm going to fix up these. Won't let me do that first one? Weird.
I think you need still need one before, so maybe you need to do 7 and
Yeah. Okay. Now my log. Perfect. So now I'm going to get rebase head. There we go. I want to reword that one. I'm going to call it lists standards for all mods. Cool. Now my git log is whistle fucking clean. Neat. So all I need to do now is let's hop over to the front end, npm run deploy. Then over on the back end, we are going to connect migrate latest env production. And then we're going to do the same thing with seeding. And then npm run deploy server. Oh, so shit, I forgot about this. This is the problem with, oh man, I'm about to be real pissed off with myself. So since I'm using git subtrees here, I changed history, which means the one on Heroku is not, the histories don't match up. Shit, this is why I don't do this. Or rather, this is why I should have been doing this with branches and merging that into master instead of rewriting history on master. All right, this is going to get stupid. Oh, God, I'm so upset with myself. No, I need to do a subtree push with a force, and it doesn't work the way that you think it does. Get subtree push force. there's that purple text. Yeah, it's something like this. All right, so I get push, and I need to push to server. The prefix is back end, and I'm going master to master and forcing. Yes! Oh, stupid. Yeah. Yeah. This is like not one worth memorizing, but Catfish, I'll show you what I did.
So why did you want to squash all your commits?
so that you can look through the history of the commits and have something meaningful. I don't want to go back to halfway through when I was working on a feature, but I very well might want to roll back a feature. And so if each of those commits are like logical stopping points, it's like when you turn all your quick saves in a video game to like an actual save spot. All right, so this is the command. The way that you break this down is backticks in Unix, that's a sub-command. So that's a completely separate Unix command. And so what it does is it takes the result of this and just like swaps it out. And so you end up with git push server, whatever the fuck this turns into locally to the remote master, and you want to force the change. Okay, so if we did all that right, I can go to our live site, and the IDs are all different now. Cool. And that's live on the web. Did that jump? No. Cool. All right, that's that feature.
Check it out. Yeah, 100%. See what's going on.
Oh, this cool.
Like that.
Flat iron colors in there. Yeah. Nice. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it's getting there. All right, next feature. As a user, I want to see a list of learning resources for a standard. So once this one gets done, then we're like at parity with what the site does now, which is exciting. And then when we get this next one, being able to add a learning resource, that's when we're getting into new territory. Okay, so as a user, I want to see a list of learning resources for standards. So the big,
You can always record the next video tomorrow and place them back in order.
So this kind of gets back to earlier when we were putting together this. So we want a list of resources on standards that links under it. And a little different than we're doing it now. Now we have those like squares, and then we have just a list of links. I want to use icons to represent what type of thing each one is. So some types. We have videos, we have labs, and then we have like external links. And so this one will probably be something like a movie camera. This one will be an Erlenmeyer flask. And this one, probably something like that. And now we need to make an update to our schema too. So these are owned by standards. I think one of the mistakes that I made before was I was trying to make a resource like assignable to multiple standards. And like, that's great in theory, but in practice, that's unnecessarily hard to manage. And really, that's only advantageous if you're like, oh, I need to update the link to this resource that gets used in a bunch of different standards and update it one time. That doesn't actually happen that much. So if right now I'm going to say one standard has many resources. And this should have an ID, it should have a label, it should have a URL, and it should have a type. And I think that's it. So, okay. Hey, what's up, Jackson?
Greetings.
other things that we need for this feature, probably none. This might be a pretty easy one. I might be able to knock this out for lunch. So, learning my lesson from last time, I'm going to, I don't know what these cache things are, but I'm going to start ignoring them. ls Oh, I see what it's doing. I am going to get ignore dot firebase. Cool. That did not appear to work. Huh. Maybe it needs to be all. That shouldn't be right. Oh, I think I need to commit that change and then maybe it'll stop doing it. All right, whatever. Git add. Oh, tell you what. I'm going to switch branches. This one is list resources. And first thing I'm going to do is get rid of the Firebase cache. Cool. So I'm going to start on the front end and say, cool, if I go to a standard, I should see a list of resources. Let's start with the end-to-end test. So it lists standards in the navigation. It focuses a standard when clicked, and now the next thing it should do is it displays a list of learning resources. So I should navigate to a standard, and then I should get resources. I should have a length greater than 0. So, do it fail. Looks good. And we fail. Perfect. So this is going to be in standard, yeah. So right now it gets a label and a description. We probably want to do is just put an H3 that says resources. I might not keep that. There's a lot of things that you can just figure out from context, and it cleans up your interface a lot. And so these labels, they're still semantic, you can still do them, but sometimes you end up hiding them because, like, what the fuck else would they be? And like, it can be really like visually exhausting to like, it's like explaining a joke or something. So over here, have list item that has resource 1, and then this is some icon this is class resources. Why is that not showing up? Should. Oh, there we go. I see. So under resources, oh, some of it is I don't have a style for H3s. So I'm going to go over to, yeah, I'm going to do it inline here first. I'll say H3s. I go over to my typography. I'm going to pinch from the primary header font. I'm going to call this a section header font. Oh, that's what I'll eventually call it. I'm going to start with what I have for the primary header font, and then just kind of enhance its modules. All right, so now it's the same as the one above it. It needs to be lower hierarchy than that. So I'm going to say maybe Roboto. That's good. Font weight 300. I don't think I have 300 for that. What if I make the label thick and small? Like that. And our color lighter. And what's the thing above it? P tag. It's an interesting principle of design. So right now this is equal space on either side. No good. You want to visually have any kind of heading closer to the thing that it's part of than on the other side. So we'll say that margin on the top should be large. XL, that's better. If I bring that weight back to 400.
What was it you using for those scales? Where did you go to like the information from?
I got those just from a book that I read recently.
It was a UI something?
Refactoring UI is the name of the book. It's a great book.
Yeah, I never thought about doing the scales like that, but that's like perfect. You don't have to worry about having
So many decisions you don't have to make.
exactly having 22 pads in here and 14 in here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so he was talking about how, like, if you don't have a system like that, if you don't start with a system like that, you end up with every single pixel sizing between 10 and 22 getting used somewhere. It's like, yes. All right. Bring the font weight back to 400. What if I keep it 400, but I go up a little more? Yeah, that's better. Maybe we can go lighter on the gray. Yeah. That's nice, because, like, it has more hierarchy than this, but it kind of sets it back a little bit. That's good. Okay, so I've got icon and a resource, and actually those are going to be anchors. They'll go to something. Perfect. So the next thing I want to do is bring on an icon library. The Vue version of that's called Fort Awesome for Font Awesome, I think. Oh, there's an official thing for something. All right. Okay, cool. This is exactly what I thought it was. So we'll go over here and let's get the core and the icons. And the library. And all right, so in main.js, this is like very counterintuitive. What we want to do is import library from at Fort Awesome, Font Awesome, SVG core. And then we get Font Awesome icon from Fort Awesome View Font Awesome. And then these end up being the actual icons that that we want to use. So if we go to Font Awesome, I need a video. So I look for video, and it's shocker video. So I take video. I also want Flask. Yep, Flask. And link. See if there's like the whole external one. Yep, this one. Oh crap, those are pro. Asshole. Cool, that's fine. This is the, oh, there we go. External link alt. That'll work just fine. External link alt. All right, so we do each of those. All right, and then we need to do library dot add, and each of those things we imported. And then register a component. video with video, and Flask with Flask, and external link is external link alt. Okay, so those are registered now. Now what we do is over here, I don't even think we need to declare it. I think we just say font awesome icon. Icon equals, and then we can say something like Flask. I'm pretty sure that's it. Definition is undefined. I'm kind of curious, is it this one? Will that work? No? Alright, so back to the docs. Fort awesome, font awesome, SVG core. Oop. I see what I did wrong. Free solid SVG icons. Actually, kind of woulda, shoulda. How about I just do video Flask external link. Ah, video FA Flask a video link. Sorry, link external link alt. FA video FA Flask. Video is not defined. Oop. All right, cool. So it's showing up, but I'm gonna say FA Flask. FA video, FA, okay, so I think all of those are right. I think we're doing, the way we're doing library add, that looks right. Oh, interesting. Okay, I'm going to try it the way that they have here with binding it to this array. Like that. that how they did it? Maybe. Something it doesn't like about... Ah, I see. Yeah, it doesn't want that. Unknown custom element font awesome icon. Font dash awesome dash icon. Font dash awesome dash icon. Okay. Oh, I see. I see. Screwed it up. This makes a lot more sense than doing each one of these individually. We want to register a component called font awesome icon. That is equal to font awesome icon. There we go. There's justice in the world. All right, and there's my flask. Cool. So bring these back. Oops. Did those start with FA? Yes, they did. Okay, very nice. It's back over here. I can make all of these icons. Sweet. And I want to check that Flask and video and external link, is that what it's called? Alt. Will work. External link is not. FAS. Oh, I'll bet these are dashed. That's why. There it is. Cool. So now that those are there, let's style them a little bit. I'm going to say that all the anchors in here should inherit their color. I'm going to say that the actual element is this. It's an I, SVG. That SV, let's see. The SVGs in here should have, say, a fixed width and height. Oh, I'll show you another interesting trick I learned kind of recently. Okay, that's a little better. I wonder if font large. think that's about what I want. So one of the kind of interesting things about these is they have more. They end up, regardless of what you do, end up with a lot more visual weight because they have so many fucking pixels in them. And so a way that you can offset that is just set the color of them to a lighter gray. So we set that to like gray 7. That like, you can use that to offset their visual weight, which is kind of cool. Cool. I'm going to say that each of these LIs should probably have just a touch of margin on. Yeah. That's pretty good. Keep them block. So like probably not. Like you realistically wouldn't have one of these with like 30 different resources. Even if you did, you'd probably want them to read in a row. So like, to give you a comparison, this is good old-fashioned tier. It ends up kind of being like that most of the time. Old tier. Okay, so those look okay. Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
G46.
they coined the term for him, flouting, because he was great to code, like, way harsher than anybody else.
Yes.
Anything, console log.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
A small space to solve anything. So if you got flouted, you knew it. Like,
Oh yeah, man.
little things.
That's part of the reason I hired that dude. Like, you want somebody to make sure something's done correctly? Like, hire a cat with Asperger's, dude. Like,
Oh, yeah, that's right.
yeah.
Yeah, he would pull out the little thing that you would.
He could find it. he was awesome, man. Precision. All right, these are pretty good. Trying to think of what else might be needed here. All right, so now let's start pulling this out into data. This will give us an idea of like what data we'll need. Resources. So the data for these need type. Video. A URL and a label. So as to not tie our icons to, let's say I go, now, sorry, I hate Fun Awesome. I don't want to use it anymore. You don't want to store the name external link alt in your database or something, because now you're tied to that library. Next library you use might call it something different. The type of it hasn't changed though. So the type of it is link. Then what you want to do is be able to look up, you need a mapping of those things. There's a few different ways you can do this, but probably easiest one for us is to make a method that looks it up. So we say something like get icon that takes in a type and give it a dictionary and say that link is external link alt, and video is video. Even when they're the same, they don't have to be the same. So it's nice to have some layer of abstraction we can kind of lean on. Let's say lab is Flask, and then we return icons at type. So then for this becomes v4 resource in resources. It's going to be mad at us if we don't have a key, so it's a good reminder at least need an ID. Key is resource ID. And then icon is going to be FA, and then we need get icon and pass in resource.type. And then this is going to be bound to resource.url. And this is going to be resource.label. And now we don't need these. And if we turn those tags into some data, cool, they work correctly. That's a link, that's a Flask. Oop, Flask doesn't show up. It's because it's not Flask, it's lab. Perfect. All right, so now we need to figure out where this data comes from. And we have the standard, so how about we make another computed property for resources that's based off the standard. Derived on derived on derived, yo. This dot standards dot resources. So now I'm almost positive the only thing that we need to make this work now is to add resources to our backend. I think everything else just kind of falls into place. So over in backend land, I want to make a new table. Well, let's see. In our diagram, the table we're adding has all the shit on it. So like that needs a standard ID also, but otherwise that's about right. So connects, migrate, make, standard. Create resource table. Cool. Resource table. On the way up, I want connects.schema.create table resource. Table. Drop table if exists. And this needs table.increments. This needs a string label. This needs a text URL. Fuck, I'll make this text too. And it needs a string type. And then a integer called standard ID that references ID in table standard. Cool. So if I run that, connects migrate latest, it works. And if I go over to seeds, let's say in mod 1, okay, so this insert statement now, let standard IDs equal that. I need to tell them to return their IDs, and so I'm going to say that those return their IDs, and then we say standard IDs for each ID. Oh shoot, these are promises though. We'll say let queries, I'm starting to really hate the seeds file. Connects resource insert let's return this, connects resource insert label a great resource URL google.com and type link. All right, so what this should do is queries ends up being an array of promises that I can await. So if I do query, promise.all queries, those will all run. And that's how you do that. Cool. So every standard should get a resource. And that'll at least let us know that like this works. Even if the data is starting to get a little bit unmanageable for like seeds and stuff. Cool. So now I want to run those seeds. Connect seed run. Whoop. Something it didn't like. Oh, because for each doesn't work that way. You need to map them. Cool. All right, so ran those. Now on the back end, I need to make this ever gnarlier data file. So I get all the modules. And I map over them to add the standards. But really, I also need all the resources. And before I attach these standards, I want let's do these first. Standards is standards.map standard. We're actually going to do kind of the same thing that we did here. So we can say standards.resources is resources filter resource dot standard ID equals standard.id. Yeah. All right, so that attaches all the resources of the standards. We attach all the standards to the mods. We return the result. And I don't think this get module actually even gets used anymore. We don't really get single modules for anything. I might just take this out. Cool. And over in app.js, let's get rid of this one too. And this is the entire backend right now. We're actually having a really interesting conversation at Help.js and Denver Devs today about like how Express kind of sucks. And like I'm a little over it. But this is maybe the thing that I like the most about Express is you can build crazy fucking simple backends like this. It's just when it gets bigger, you end up having to do so much stuff by hand that it's frustrating. So I kind of want to see what's happening on that back end now. If I ask for the modules, I get the standards back, each of which doesn't appear to have resources on it. All right, so I don't think that worked. Get modules. Got all the resources. Did it throw an error? Did not. Nope. That's why. Cool. What about now? Nope. Did that backwards. Okay, it has an empty resources array. That's progress. Did I spell something wrong? Resource.standardID equals standard.id. All right, let's take a look at what the resources are. Okay, they're in there. All right, it got a bunch of null IDs. That's why that happened. Okay. Helps if you actually add it in the first place. Run those seeds again. How you like me now? There we go. There's some resources. So we should if I refresh this page. All right, now back over here, get rid of that. Nope, didn't like that. But why didn't it like that? Oop, because that would be standard resources. There we go. Not getting an error anymore. What are this dot standard dot resources? It has them. It's a good sign. Set over to the view inspector. Modules, standards, resources. Cool. No, it's all there. That's good. So I want standard.resources. And I want to iterate through resources. That should have it. Oh, is it because it's the other mod, maybe? No? Oh, I gotta return it. Come on, dude. That helps. Oh. What if I hard code some text in there? Oh, whoa, and that made it show up. That's weird. And they're just there now. And goes to Google, goes to Google. All right, they're there. All right, it's just a caching issue. Okay, so neat. We've got those working. Since I got rid of the individual route for getting modules, I think I'm going to try to get rid of the action for that also. So I don't want set module, fetch module. I don't need set module. Yeah, that's fine. And nothing in my app should break. Cool. All right. I think that might be that feature. So Is it styled? Yes. Tested. How are we on testing? Cool. Front end test pass. Never made a test for the back end. In fact, I broke the test and didn't fix them. I don't want this. It retrieves a single module. Want anymore. But I do want and includes nested property resources. Expected. Nope, that wasn't it. Expect response.body.modules 0. Standards 0. To include property resources. All right, that works. And I saw a console log data. There it is. Okay, tests are passing. Error handling. User isn't taking any action. README. Nothing new needs to get added to the README. So we just need to deploy this. User resources are standards list their resources. Cool. And now, if I go back to master, do get merge list resources. It is done. I hop over to the front end. npm run deploy. It is so. On the back end, npm run deploy server. And then I need to run my migration in production. And connect seed run production also. Neat. Okay, so on the live site, we refresh. Nate, there's those resources. Looking sexy. So that moves over to done. And I'm going to take a break and get some lunch, and then we're going to start moving forward into adding learning resources.
Actually being able to upload.
Yeah, like being able to say, oh, for this standard, I want to add a resource to this. And you just put a URL and all those things in there.
Nice. Cool. Want to see that.
Yeah, me too. So, cool. See you in a sec.